I remember the first time you took me hunting. I was 11 years old. So the next year at Idaho, now in Idaho, you can start hunting at 10. But at that time, you had to hunt at 12. So I was 11 years old and you were taking me out for my first time. And to paint the picture, I had done no physical work on my body at all at that time. I was 11 years old. I was super chunky, no muscle. And you were concerned, how is he going to get up the mountains? And you came up with this idea of, let's put cleats on him. Let's put football cleats on him.
I thought this kid needs traction.
so he could hike up these mountains. And I remember hiking up this mountain being miserable because I hadn't experienced physical activity at that time, except for, playing in sports and stuff like that, but not where you're just hiking straight up a mountain and not understanding the hunting part of it.
Yeah. And there wasn't any snow out at that particular time. It was October.
But I remember those cleats, they were like tap shoes on the rocks. And so every time I'd step on, it was click, 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 click. And you'd turn and be like, shh, shh.
Like, shut the heck up.
Click, 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 shh, shh. And I remember finally feeling so just sad because I couldn't even hike right. And I'm shocked that I ended up getting into hunting.
Oh yeah.
Because that first experience was horrible. But then, yeah, I don't even know. I think my first hunting experience went really well. We hunted actually that's the year I shot that doe multiple times, with Kurt Tidwell.
Kurt. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm shocked I ended up hunting after those first couple of years, because those first few hunts were a learning experience as well. But it was awesome to have you and other guys who are friends of yours there to mentor me through this, through the whole process.
And you had a good rest,
Yeah.
just take your time.
Yep.
And it was a doe. The first one you got
was
a doe.
First year I got was a doe.
You shot it in the head, didn't you?
No, I shot it. So the first shot was in the front legs, in the bottom.
That's right.
And I think the shot, it was probably how far of a shot?
Gosh, 100 yards?
100 yards.
We hadn't been in that area before, but it was pretty wide open and where we were and stuff. And
okay, so my first shot at the age of 12 was only 100 yards, which in the Midwest, 100 yards is a decent shot. In Idaho, 100 yards is the easiest shot in the world.
Right.
And I hit this doe it was either the front legs or the back legs in the bottom, but it was a horrible, horrible experience. And I felt at that time I still do. I have so much sympathy for animals. I really care about the way that they're taken. And I shot there was like probably 70 doe there. And that was the hardest part, was trying to choose which one. Mm-hmm. But I also had Kurt, Brian, and you all watching me shoot at this doe. Shot, hit it in the bottom legs, and this thing would not stop. We ran down the mountain. I shot it again in the neck.
Okay.
And then it kept running.
That's right.
And we ended up stumbling across it later in the dark, and Kurt had to jump on it and take care of it.
Yeah.
But I was like mortified of the entire experience because I really did care about the animals and still do today. And ever since then, I really put it in my mind that I am going to make sure that I'm prepared and never do a shot like that.
But don't you think that prepared you for any other hunt that you
Totally.
go on? Like, everybody needs an experience like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a young kid that was hunting last year. Everything was picture perfect. Mm-hmm. Got a nice deer, had a good rest, mm-hmm. But this year it was different for him. Mm-hmm. His dad took him out, and it wasn't quite the shot that he thought.
Yeah.
And so he had to see, it was suffering. The animal was suffering a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody needs to see that. And that's how important it is that you do get a good shot.
Right. That you put in the prep work. Yeah. Because that experience is always in my mind of I never want to have that happen again. And I'm sure I've had similar experience that have happened since, but they're very few and far between. And usually it's always from a dumb mistake that I make that I knew that I shouldn't have. But I agree. There has to, sometimes I think for all hunters, there's those stories that are a humbling experience. Mine happened to happen the very first time I ever tried to shoot at a deer. But I think all hunters have that experience of I need to be prepared. And then when they get relaxed because they think they're so good or they can shoot at anything, that's the year that it's going to happen again for them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I remember, I'd shot a few doe after this. I think when I was 12, 13, and 14, those were the years that I shot doe. When I was 15 and I could finally drive, I remember I told you guys, and still kind of shocked that you let me do this, but I remember when I was 15 and a half, I still wasn't even legally allowed to drive at night. I remember I told you, hey, I'm going to go hunting tomorrow. I'm not going to go to school. And you were like, what? Yeah, you are. You're going to school. And I was like, I just want to go hunting by myself on a weekday where there's not a bunch of people. And you said, all right, you can go. And so I remember I took off school that day and Mom was mortified. She didn't even know until the next day that I was out in the mountains.
Better to ask for forgiveness later on that one.
And then I called you, a few hours after the morning and said, hey, I got a buck.
It was amazing.
What was your feeling during that?
I was the most proud dad because, a kid walking up in the dark to a place that I had taken him a few times. So he kind of knew the area and stuff, but it was amazing when you called and said, Dad, I got one. And I was like, what?
How'd you do that? Yeah, I remember that feeling. It was a very similar feeling as when I caught that fish.
Yeah.
But when I shot a buck for the first time by myself and called you and said, I got one. And I think I'd gutted it out and was dragging it on the trail at that time.
Yeah. And I said, I'll meet you on the trail.
Yep.
And like I was almost sprinting down the trail to get to you. Knowing all the adrenaline is pre-shot.
Right.
Once you shoot, and then it's like, oh, wow. Okay, now the work starts.
Right.
But I was just so proud that you had gone out there by yourself, done everything. And I thought, oh, man, he's going to far surpass me in stuff.
Well, I still am yet to shoot. I've gotten a bigger elk than you. I'll just brag about that for a second.
Yeah.
I've gotten a bigger elk. I have not shot a bigger mule deer yet. So that's, I still haven't surpassed you yet. So you're still beating me there, but I do remember that.
You will.
I do remember that being a defining moment as well for, okay, I do want to pursue, if I can do this by myself and I don't have to have people here and I feel prepared enough. And the shot was perfect. The deer fell right where I shot. Everything felt right, and that this is what I wanted to pursue and do in my life.